Okay, folks, let's jump into Thursday's episode of Beyond the Gates. 8 out of 10. I enjoyed this one. Okay, so let's talk about what left me baffled in the previous episode. Danny shows up at the airport and explains to Andre about the photo shoot. He's confused about why she would cancel. Now, she mentioned that Ridge was very understanding and he wants answers. And she mentions how the picture you sent me, I could just tell from the look in your eyes that this shoot was the last thing you wanted to do. And the thing is, I've been worried about how you mentioned that there's a risk in this if you do it. And he says that, well, this doesn't make any sense. Now, there were a lot of interesting fan theories because people were like, oh, Andre looks different in the photo, and hey, he's standing in front of that picture with like London or whatever in the background. So isn't that an allusion to going to Paris with Ashley or something? No, not at all. Now, that's when she demands to know what is really going on, and he explains that Pamela talked him into doing it. And he says that when you have it, you have it, but, he's sure that he would stick out like a camel in a zebra family because he's not like a, professional model the same way Danny was. And I was concerned that if I did this, the campaign would fall flat and then you get blamed like, oh, the cougar doesn't have it like she used to, and he's just the arm candy or whatever along for the ride. But I care about you too much to hurt you, and that's why I was reluctant to do it. And he's like, look, we could still do this thing. And that's when it's like, nope, the trip is off. And if you could sacrifice for me, then I could sacrifice for you. And that's when Danny calls Pamela and tells her about the shoot going, not the way they planned. She tries to talk her girl out of it, but isn't able to do so. But the thing is, she turns over to Andre and says, well, despite the shoot being bust, we could still do our honeymoon. And she's like, where do you want to go? And the thing is, she's like, I'm not allowed back in most countries. Okay, I find that hilarious, Danny. What were you up to back in the day? And she's like, well, since we already have everything booked in LA, let's just go there. So that's what they opt to do. Now, over at the hospital, Anita's there, and she's crowded by a bunch of nurses and workers who are fawning over her because, hey, she's a celebrity. And Nicole steps from around the corner and watches her mom getting praised. Shanice, gets a selfie with her and mentions how, oh, you probably heard me on stage because I was singing at the top of my lungs during your performance. Now, that's when Anita steps over to Nicole and tells her, oh, actually, you're not the reason why I'm here. They step into her daughter's office and she mentions that she's there to get her physical. And they talk about the importance of getting those tests yearly. Now, I saw people online praising this moment, because, hey, this is just, something important for the black community, the importance of, getting physicals and checkups. I admit I am long overdue for one myself. I regularly go to the dentist twice a year, though. But I am long overdue for a physical. Now, they talk about my baby Laura in terms of how helpful she's been with the Winterfest planning. And Anita mentions that there's a light show they're probably going to have for the show as well. And that's when Vernon is meeting up with someone possibly about Winterfest as well. We're over at Uptown and he's with Sharon. And she tells him how fine he's looking. And he says, like, look, we can't let these meetings get back to my wife. And she points out some woman in a pantsuit is over there eyeballing them. And that's when Vernon says she's an old work acquaintance who doesn't know Anita. And she asks him to go back to the hotel room. And he says, yeah, I'll be missed if I went there. So she pulls out the cufflinks that he left on the dresser. Vernon. And they'll arrange to meet someplace tomorrow. Now, over at the country club, Leslie is still over there talking with Eva and Ted. Oh, I'm sorry. Eva and Jan and Ted. And she brags about funding a new sports complex here at the country club. Ted is intrigued as Leslie tells him that I like to play basketball. And they talk about the Harlem Globetrotters. And every time I hear that team name, I instantly think about the Scooby-Doo specials they ran. Now, Eva has no idea what they're talking about. And then Jan notices the time and leaves. And Eva goes behind her, begging her to stay and be a buffer between her parents. And that's when Jan tells her that Leslie won't be able to make any inroads as long as Ted resists. So that's when she takes off. And then Eva returns to see her parents talking about the NAACP. And Leslie brings up Winterfest and how to help. And Ted mentions how he wouldn't miss it. It's one of his favorite events of the year. And she's like, oh, that sounds lovely. So once Ted leaves, his friend, Leslie, and daughter, they argue about Leslie being involved with the function. And Leslie thinks everyone hates her because she's new money. And Eva points out that, hey, they're all new money and they hate her because she's tearing down a classic home. Yeah, I forgot about that. So her mom makes it clear that she wants to be involved in the festivities and to stick it to the Duprees. And that's when, yet again, she mentions how her social standing works there, just like in the old neighborhood. You're either a peacock or you're nothing. That explains a lot about Leslie when you really think about it. Now, Ted, after meeting with Leslie, goes to his ex-wife's office and tells her he wants to bring Eva to Winterfest. And she urges him to think about how Kat will feel about it. And he says, I've been trying to calm her down, but she needs to learn he has another daughter, and I love her just as much. And Nicole thinks Eva should be thankful she has a sane parent. Better than having two Leslies. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, Nicole, now you're considering how your daughter feels as compared to the previous week when you didn't care about the way Martin chewed her up and spit her out. Now, Vernon goes home and Anita notices the cheap perfume smell on him. And he has an excuse saying, and then she's like, well, I don't like my man having another woman's scent on him. And she notices he's wearing his cufflinks again. It's the little things. It's the little things, Vernon, you need to watch out for. I thought you'd be smarter than this. So over at the food court area, that's when Kat runs into Smitty. And she thinks that you're avoiding me because of Martin, but he stops her so they can talk about, their mutual connection. And she hopes that he can get an apology out of him for talking crazy to her the other day about Samantha. And she complains that he always sees the worst in her. And Martin has always been one to have a short fuse, blow up over nothing, and refuses to apologize. And, she mentions Tomas always jumped to conclusions about her as well and trying to get her to make peace with Eva. So then they talk about taking ownership for things and she leaves. And Smitty, you could argue that he is yet again another person trying to get Kat to apologize when she shouldn't. He's more of a neutral party though, because let's be real. Kat's her brother, but he's married to Martin and has dealt with a lot. So, I don't know. Their connections are different. Kat has known him longer, but plus, he doesn't know the full story. Now, we go over to Ashley's place and we meet two new characters, Liam and Cheryl. Now, they're actually there to help Derek with the boxes. And I think Cheryl has her car, Liam has his truck. And they help with the chair and the boxes and everything. So once everything is packed up, because they're really encouraging, to his recovery and getting him back at the fire station soon. Now, Liam fills up his truck and leaves. And that's when Cheryl stays behind to tell Derek that you're stronger than you think and you shouldn't have to go through this alone because, he's dealing with the whole ending of his relationship with Ashley. And then they end up making out, but then he stops him because no, not like this, not in Ashley's apartment. And she asks, you still love her, don't you? And I do. And it's I wish I could take things back and change them, but I can't. And I know she doesn't want me anymore, but she was the best thing to happen to me. And Cheryl gets it in hopes that Ashley realizes what she gave up. Now, a lot of fans they wished Ashley would have came home in this moment. Or after everything she did. One tweet took me all the way out. I wish Ashley came home and found like Cheryl's panties on her pillow or some of that, or Derek's dirty drawers on her bed. I'm like, dang, that is messed up. Y'all do not like this girl. So over at the hospital, Naomi stops by to give Ashley the key that Derek had to her place. And she explained that he's there now moving his stuff out and need to stop feeling sorry for him. And Ashley talks about how she wasn't perfect to him either, but needs to stick to her guns. Yet again, Naomi is her enabler. So Shanice commends her on taking accountability for her own shortcomings in their failed relationship. And Naomi points out that Derek will be around from time to time for physical therapy, and it might be awkward, but she suggests that she takes her lunch when he comes by or play too busy to talk. And that's when, speaking of the devil, Shanice orders Ashley to go take lunch. And that's the end of the episode. That's pretty much it. So, like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.